Welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network, coming to you from the TeacherCast studios since 2011. Join us each week as we bring you the latest educational news, EdTech updates, and hottest interviews with today's most influential leaders in education. And now, for your host, Jeff Bradbury.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is Digital Learning Today, episode number 26, and today we're talking all about STEM education. I have a fantastic guest on today from the Museum of Science in Boston, talking all about some great new curricula that they're offering and how you can teach your students about the planet and climate change. Before we get into our interview today, I hope you guys are having a great start to your summer. There's a lot of amazing things happening over on teachercast.net. Don't forget to head on over and check out our brand new newsletter. And of course, this and all of our podcasts can be found over at teachercast.net/podcast. Don't forget to check them out, like, subscribe, and share them with your colleagues today. My guest today is the Senior Vice President of STEM Learning at the Museum of Science in Boston. I want to welcome today my good friend, Dr. Christine Cunningham. Christine, welcome to TeacherCast.
Great to be here.
I am so excited to have you today. There's so much amazing things that are happening these days over at the Museum of Science in Boston. Talk to us a little bit about yourself and what's happening at the museum these days.
Yes, I am the Senior Vice President for STEM Learning at the Museum of Science in Boston. And as always, we are focused on trying to bring science to everybody across the country, across the globe. My work in particular focuses on engineering and STEM learning from preschool through grade 8. And so we are trying to work with educators across the country in schools, in out of schools, in summer schools, to introduce young learners to this engineered or designed world that we live in.
You know, it's so important these days that students have that ability to reach out and get a great STEM education. I did notice that you said that your program is for everybody. How can teachers in classrooms worldwide reach out and learn more about science?
Yeah, so there are many different ways that they can do that. If they're looking at science in general, our Museum of Science website, mos.org, has a lot of resources for parents, for educators. Our website and the project that I direct, Youth Engineering Solutions, or YES, is also on the web at yes.mos for museumofscience.org. What we've tried to do is think about the curricular materials and lessons and activities that can help educators introduce young children to this human-made world around us. So I'd like to say that almost everything that we interact with on a daily basis has the hand of an engineer behind it. Our pencils, our shoes, our bandages. There's people behind that thinking about how to engineer that product so it meets the performance needs and the desires of the people who are using it. And so what we try to think about is how do we introduce in very hands-on ways these complicated concepts to young children. And anybody can think about how we design something or make it better. It's a very human proclivity. We've been doing this since the beginning of time, thinking about how we shape our world. Right now, one of the things that we're really focused on is how do we make sure that we're tapping the talents of all different kinds of children, because traditionally engineering has been seen as an elite subject for the super smart. And we actually believe that every child has something they can contribute to shaping the world that they live in.
Let's dive into this a little bit. The website is yes.mos.org. And you have created a really amazing curriculum for pre-K through 8, NGSS standards aligned. Talk to us a little bit about what educators can find when they go over to the website.
Yeah, so on the website, what we've done is make all of the curricular materials that we've developed available free of charge. That can be downloaded from the web pages. So as you mentioned, we start with littles, and we have a entire curriculum just for preschoolers or transitional kindergarteners, called We Engineer. As you get older, we have a variety of products for elementary aged children that can be done in classrooms or in enrichment spaces and summer schools. And we also have some products for middle school. These generally tend to start with an engineering design challenge, but then we also have some modules that interact and help kids create or connect the engineering to computer science topics. So we're trying to show them how computer science can be interesting. Educators can download the materials online. They can also download the classroom slides that might help them to introduce or project the ideas to their students. We've got various context setting elements that align with the units that make them more relevant to children. So depending upon their age level, the students might read a short story. They may look at comics. There's some videos. From the teacher side of things, we also have some videos that can help educators as they're setting up the materials. These are very hands-on activities. We believe children should be doing engineering, not reading about it. And we have a whole suite of materials related to professional learning also on the website. So folks can come and join us in a free webinar. They can attend a professional development or professional learning experience either online or in person. And we try to make all of the resources that would support educators as they do this work available for teachers for free or for very low charge, in addition to everything that we have available for free on our website. For teachers who don't really want to go and gather the materials themselves, we do sell materials kits to support that. That was a teacher request, and some print copies of the materials that are available online as well.
And that is the nice thing. I mean, many teachers are listening to this show today, but many teachers are also parents, and it's the summertime, and coming up with things to do with your kids at home. This is a perfect summertime activity. I know I'm going to be digging through all the curricula here to use with our triplets. Is there one particular unit that you've had an opportunity to work with students that you've seen them light up? What are some of the favorite units that are available here?
So I'm going to actually mention two of them for different, or actually three. I'll give you one at each grade level because it's hard to have just one. So with the children who are very young, our littler students around kindergarten or first grade, we have a unit where the students are challenged to design a sun hat that keeps the warm rays of the sun from their head. So they have to think about whether they need it to shade their face, to shade their ears, to shade their neck, depending upon whether or not they have long hair or other variables. They decide that. And then using a paper plate as a base, they think about what kinds of materials do a good job of blocking the sun, and then think about how they can construct something that will block the sun and stay on their head. So those are really little guys. As we move to upper elementary school, one of my favorite youth engineering solutions units is our designing plastic filters unit. And in this case, we're challenging students to start to think about the problem of plastics, but not only the problems of plastics. We think about why do we use plastic? Why is it so common everywhere in our society? And they think about then how they might be able to remove plastics from water, particularly ocean ecosystems. So they think a little bit about how plastics get into the ocean, and then they think about the effects of the plastic on those various creatures that live in oceans or in bays. And then they move on to design a solution that might filter some of the plastics that are currently in the ocean ecosystem out of that to protect the animals. And then I'd say at the middle school level, my favorite unit right now is one that focuses on what we call eco-friendly slippers. And so the students are designing a slipper. They're thinking about, it's actually a unit that's grounded in the science of forces. And in this case, they're trying to think about how they can design first the sole of a slipper that has enough traction that it's safe, but not too much traction, so it's unsafe. And so the kids design that sole and then using materials that they are reusing. So this is where the eco-friendly part comes in. They go and find materials that they might otherwise be discarding, design the upper part of a slipper as well. So that's a super fun one that gets kids thinking a little bit about the technologies that they wear on their feet, how often they end up in landfills or other places, and how they can be designed to be safe for the user.
There's certainly a lot of great things over here in the curricular section. Of course, you can find out more information over at yes.mos.org. Talking today to Dr. Christine Cunningham from the Museum of Science in Boston. And, you know, Christine, so many teachers are looking for great ways to get their students into STEM, but they're just not sure where to start or even how to start. Luckily for us, the museum also offers a great professional development solution. Talk to us a little bit about how the museum is supporting teacher development.
Yeah, so we recognize that curricular materials are important, but that they're not the only thing that can support teachers in classrooms. And we know that educators often, for them, engineering is a brand new discipline. They may never have experienced it themselves in school. I certainly did not. They may not really know what it is, or how do I best teach it, and how do I best teach it so that all kids in my class are successful. And so we really try to support them in a variety of different ways. Every month, we offer a webinar that's available, again, free of charge, that focuses on a topic of some sort. So we might be focusing on how do we reach multilingual learners through engineering in 1 month. Another month, we might be thinking about how do we bolster empathy and thinking through the impacts of engineered solutions on our world. That is available. Teachers can join it. We know the best and most impactful way to do professional learning is to gather teachers together and have them go through the experiences. And we try to do this both having them think about what they're doing from the learner's perspective, so really experience it as their students would experience, and then change their lens and think about what they've just done from the educator's perspective. So how do you manage this kind of activity? What are the learning goals? What do you do to make sure all children are successful? And we can run workshops both for individual units, but we try to also think about educators who might be working across units and supporting their colleagues. So for example, we offer what we call teacher educator institutes. And those are generally about 3 days long, and educators will come to get a sort of more in-depth view of the kind of work that they might be doing, the various kinds of curricula we have. Those are listed on the professional learning page of our website, as all of our offerings are. We have two this coming up. One is in July 17th through 19th, and that's focusing mostly on our middle school offerings, and one July 23rd through 25th for our elementary level offerings. So those in-person things, we know from teacher feedback that those are highly popular because teachers can experience them, but we also recognize that sometimes you can't get to something in person. And so we offer online virtual workshops or virtual sessions as well, if travel or having our team or educators we work with can also visit schools. But if that's not possible, we also have some virtual offerings.
We're going to make sure that we have the links to this and all of the items that we've been talking about today over on our website. You can head on over to teachercast.net/podcasts. And of course, this is Digital Learning Today, episode number 26. Now, the neat thing about this is that STEM really is for anybody. I mean, if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, no matter what the grade is, there is something for everybody. But I got to ask you a personal question. When you're looking at the world of STEM, what excites you? Going into the summertime, going into the next year, what are you looking at that really is exciting in the world of STEM education?
Yeah, to me, I've always been interested in how we can design things or optimize things for different kinds of people or for the environment. So this idea that we can shape our world, I think, is really, really important and interesting. And so as I go through my everyday life, I constantly see things that I might think can be better. Do we need to have a plastic water bottle? I was looking yesterday. I'm at a conference right now, and I was looking, and they started using metal bottles instead of plastic bottles. Like, that's a huge, important thing that, as I mentioned, we also are trying to get kids to think about issues of plastics. The museum as a whole, through its Earthshot initiative, is trying to have all citizens start to think about this planet that we live on and how we can make it more sustainable. So for me, being able to think about how I, as an individual, can both change my little world that I live in, but also potentially come up with a product later in life, not my life, but children's lives, that might have a real impact on the world, I think is super exciting to just think about the possibilities and the way that you can make a difference.
Making a difference a little bit at a time is one of those things I think every student needs to grow up knowing. And one of the ways that we can do that is by sharing a little bit about where we are as a planet, where we are in our world. And recently, you guys have created a new curricular for climate solutions. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have a number of different lessons that are focused on climate or the environment. All of this wraps into the Earthshot initiative that the Museum of Science is focusing on during this year. And so there's any range of different kinds of activities that kids can focus on, from designing plastic filters that remove plastic from the environment, to designing slippers that are thought about in more sustainable ways, to designing dwellings, different kinds of houses that can keep a home cooler, to think about how we might use wind to generate energy. There's probably 12 to 14 different activities, engineering activities, that we've designed, both through Youth Engineering Solutions and also its Engineering is Elementary, which is another product line that's available also on our website. That suite of resources allows kids to really think about what are some ways that engineers can change and shape the environment that they live in to be more sustainable, and think carefully about our contributions to this, fragile and beautiful planet that we live on.
Well, clearly there's no boundaries to what the Museum of Science in Boston can do for students, not only in the Boston area, but also worldwide. One more time, Christine, where can we learn more about the great things happening at the Museum of Science in Boston?
Our project can be found at Youth Engineering Solutions, or YES.MOS for museumofscience.org. And more generally, I work for the Museum of Science in Boston, which has an amazing website at mosmuseumofscience.org.
Christine, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We're going to make sure that all the links that we discussed and all the programs are on our website over at Digital Learning Today, podcast episode number 26. Don't forget to check that out. And of course, if you're over on TeacherCast, check out all of our shows, like, subscribe, and of course, share this with your colleagues. Christine, thank you so much for being on the show today.
It's been a pleasure.
And that wraps up this episode of Digital Learning Today. I hope you guys had a chance to check out some of these great resources. For more information, head on over to teachercast.net. And on behalf of Christine and everybody here on TeacherCast, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you guys to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.
You've been listening to the TeacherCast Educational Network, hosted by Jeff Bradbury. Please reach out to the show with all of your questions on Twitter @TeacherCast or online at www.teachercast.net. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please take a moment to write a review in the App Store.